Welcome to the Driven by Faith podcast. This is from Disciple First Church. We talk all things faith, culture, and anything that will help build our faith within the context of our local church, communities, and our everyday lives. So today we have Pastor Sarah Mendez. So Sarah, without further ado, would you share what your story is, where you've been serving at our church, and all that kind of stuff? But yeah.
Yeah, so hey guys, my name is Sarah Mendez, and here at Disciple First Church, I am the lead kids pastor, and I basically just oversee everything that has to do with kids. Definitely for a long time now, I've known that, my calling, and my mission has definitely been geared a lot more towards kids and towards just kids ministry in general. And just a little bit about my story. I grew up in church here in Saxe, Texas. I started growing up in a church with my grandfather because he's actually a pastor. So I grew up in the AG church. But then also my family wanted to transition to a different church, so I ended up growing up in a different church that is now within the Wiley area, the Saxe area. And as when I turned 19, around that age, there was open doors that led me to come here to Disciple First. But yes, I grew up in the church. I didn't really know the Lord. I knew of the Lord. I didn't really know God until it was probably about when I was in 8th grade, where my eyes really opened to His Spirit and just everything that had to truly do with a relationship with Him and having a relationship with Him. But yeah, and ever since then, I gave my life to the Lord in 8th grade. And then it wasn't until maybe my sophomore year of high school where I genuinely dove in deeper with Him and just genuinely tried to build whatever relationship I could with Him in every way possible, whether it was with my friends' relationships, my family's relationships, any other kind of relationship that I was having in my life at that point. And just to kind of see how much more the Lord could really just build those up, and how I could just really start living my life for the Lord. And and now we're here. I felt a calling towards kids ministry when I was maybe in my senior year of high school, when I turned 18. And then after that, the Lord has just opened doors left and right, and work at a school. I work at a school with kids, with elementary school kids. I'm starting to become a teacher, and also, now I'm here. Sweet. Now I'm here with you guys, with everyone else.
A little bit of context. Sarah's actually my cousin. Known her since she was born. Got to hold her as a baby. We're about 7 years apart, something like that. 6 years apart? 6 years apart.
Yeah.
You just had your birthday.
Yeah, I just had my birthday.
Yeah. So happy birthday,
Pastor birthday.
Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then this is Pastor Paul. Y'all seen him on a few episodes now. But today we're going to be talking about singleness and what it means to build and have community within the local church and in your everyday life. And so, Pastor Paul, what has been your experience dating within the church? Has it been difficult? What are some of the things that just you've seen within your own personal experience, and then with friends and all that kind of stuff?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I'll just start off with some of my experiences when it came to dating within the church. Dating within the church, it can be a little tough. Not gonna lie. I think my experiences have been all right.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a few relationships. Obviously God honoring as much as we can. But it's been one of those things where, you don't play with that,
Yeah.
If God gives you somebody, you don't play with that. And I guess the difficulty with dating, and what I've seen with other people, is I don't think sometimes we all take the proper steps into stepping into a relationship. So we kind of, when we get into it, it's what is this? This is not what I was expecting.
What are some of those steps that you think people are missing in that like path towards dating?
For sure. I think it is communicating a couple things. I think one is like boundaries. You know, obviously there's things that people don't want, some pet peeves, but more mainly it's like, what line are we not going to cross?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to play with things that are going to hurt you. You don't want to play with things that are going to essentially ruin the relationship.
Yeah.
And another thing is also like really talking about future plans. Like I think people don't really look into what y'all have in common, and then also planning out y'all's future. Like, are y'all in similar stages of life? How different are y'all in different stages of life? You know, like things like that also come into play where I've seen like that can really ruin a relationship sometimes.
Because it's easy to think of the things you want, but it's another to actually be with the child of God. You realize this is someone's son, this is someone's daughter. And not just from an earthly perspective, but from a heavenly perspective, where if this is a child of God, what are the best ways that I can honor them, love them? And if it's someone that you're eventually going to marry, congrats, I love that. And if it's not, how are you going to end or cease the relationship in a way that whenever they think of their past, they're not left with scars, but they're left with blessings, even though it didn't work out? But yeah, those are some things that like I've seen in my own experience. But yeah. So Sarah, Pastor Sarah, I have a question for you. So whenever you think about like pursue what you look for in a guy and things that kind of would give you like red flags, what are some things that you've seen in your own experience or like just in general you'd like recommend for people to watch out for as women of God in our church and then just at large?
As women, guys, these are like, but yeah, so for me personally, I think I would definitely say, I mean, red flags for sure. Like, are they following the Lord?
Yeah.
Like, are they equally yoked with you? Are they also going to walk in a path that is going to, if obviously, you know, we're dating to marry, but if we're walking down that same path of faith together where we're going to be able to build each other up, and not only that, but our goal as kingdom families to build even more kingdom families and to have kids and to also raise those kids to have kids that are also going to become disciples of Christ, you know, like are they also going to have those same values and those same morals and those same, like, you know, again, like, is he going to be someone that's going to lead you, right? Because
to kind of like get on that one, what does it look like whenever you're thinking of like, this is a godly leader who is a man of God? Like, what are some of those traits and characteristics that you look for, you think people should look for when they're like thinking of like who to date, who they should be with? But yeah, what are some of the things that you look for?
Okay, so so personally, does he have, you know, what's the right word for that? Does he have, oh my goodness,
is he able to like show you clarity and like the future, stuff like that?
I'm trying to think of a word, almost like, okay, well, not commission, but like, is he
commitment?
Like, yes, commitment. Yes. Yeah. Is he committed, right? Is he not only gonna be someone who is committed to you, but is he, like, look at like regular things that he does, like, is he committed to his own church? Does he serve in his own church, right? Like, does he already, you know, serve within his own church? Like, what ministries is he serving in? And is he committed to that? You know, does he go consistently? Does he go consistently to church? Like, what are the things that are good for him that are also going to build him up, you know? I think also a big one is humility. Like, I mean, I feel like that's obviously really hard to see for someone that you're just now meeting and like maybe you're gonna date. I mean, like that's probably something that you'll have to look for as you consistently get to know that person. But you know, someone who is humble, someone who is kind, compassionate, and will treat other people treat every single person right, because I feel like, you know, we definitely go into like this dating pool of like, okay, how is he only going to treat me, or how easy is it for him to treat me if he's interested in me, but do we fully realize how else he's treating every single other person, right? Because it's not just about me, it's about how we can both, right, have our own ministries and our own things, and how he also has his own ministry and his own thing, right? Because we're not filling each other's voids. We're not
that's a big one.
you know, like I'm my own person, he's his own person, right? And so like is he already living a life that's you know, looking like he's leading, like he's committed to whatever ministry he's doing? How is he treating other people, like literally regular people, just regular people that you see, like, you know? I feel like that plays a really big part. I think initiative has a lot to do with it, you know? I think when a guy shows that he has initiative and he's able to come up to you, even if, you know, y'all, I'm not going to say it's definitely easier said than done to be rejected by someone. But sounds, but you know what I'm saying? Like to show initiative and be able to go up to someone and literally just ask them out. Like it's hard. Yeah. It's easier said than done. I mean,
it is hard.
You know, I mean, I don't think I've personally ever like I've never tried to go up and
as you shouldn't.
But I think it definitely shows a lot of initiative for someone to be able to come up to you and just say, hey, like, do you want to go on a date? And, you know, they say the worst that they could say is no, right? But I think just even showing that initiative, even that initial initiative, right? Or of course, maybe like if it's not just like that at the beginning, if y'all are like friends or whatever, just see like what he does to like, you know, like, does he do? Is he not just sitting around? Is he not just, you know, like, what does he do? Like, what is he doing? You know, just taking into account like all those things. Also, you know, self-control. How is he like with his friends? How is he like with his community? How is he like around every person, not just you, right? I feel like that's a little harder to see, because, you know, I feel like whenever we definitely go into like this little like dating thing, you know, we'll definitely try to be our best person. Or it's almost like if there's like a high, where we're like kind of like act a certain way, putting your best foot forward, or like acting the best way that you can until like a certain point where you're like, well, we're already locked in, you know, so like they're not going anywhere, you know, it's already too late, they're not going anywhere, so like whatever, I'm just gonna act like my regular self, right? I feel like, you know, just I don't know. I feel like, but I feel like there's definitely ways to be able to tell, like, okay, like, well, you know, like, is that gonna be, you know, anything down the line? No, I mean, obviously don't be tiptoeing or whatever. I mean, I feel like if they seem like the right person and they seem like, you know, genuine, right, then that's definitely a way to go. I mean, those are just a few, but
so it sounds like the biggest ones are they willing to take initiative and lead? Are they the same person with you as they are with others? And are they committed to the things of God, like going to a local church, serving with others, and all that kind of stuff? And so I know in my own life, I've seen examples of like my own pastor, Pastor Jonathan. He's actually in the room doing all the recording, all that kind of stuff. And he has opened up his life to where I can see if I choose a godly and willing partner, I can have a happy marriage that isn't just a blessing to me and my wife and my kids, but is a blessing to the community. And I think it's a really big deal to actually have a vision of what other couples can look like in terms of like healthy marriages, healthy ministries, healthy workplace stuff, where like it's not just a whole bunch of singles thinking, oh, if I can just get this one thing out there, then this is the ideal thing. But to have godly vision of marriage from other people in our lives. And I know like us three and a few other people went out with my mom and my stepdad Kevin the other day, and honestly that was one of the most edifying times I've had in the past few weeks. We got to just be with a godly couple who got to have real conversations with them, talk about what we thought. They even paid for our lunch, so shout out to my mom and stepdad Kevin. But yeah, so it's just seeing different ways that we can have a vision for a healthy, godly, and unifying marriage, and that's a beautiful thing, because in a world where there's about a 42 to 50% divorce rate, in the context of spirit-filled, God-honoring marriages, the percentages go down. There's actually health and vitality whenever you are living in accordance to the Word of God. And so take that up. If you're not in a church, go get plugged in. We'd love to see you here, Disciple First, but there are healthy marriages you can look towards, and that is a God-given blessing. And so, one of my favorites is Pastor Jonathan and his wife Tiffany. They're wonderful pastors, wonderful people, and we'd love to see you here, Disciple First, one day if you're in the Garland, Texas area. And so, another question I have is like, what has it been like to build community as like young adults, and what are you looking to like just see in your friends whenever you're looking to say, hey, these are my people, these are my best friends, these are people I can say, if I were to give them a call right now at my darkest hour or in any time of need, I know if I call them, they are my go-to people. What are some of those things that you look for with your friends? Yeah, let's go, Pastor Paul.
Man, I'll say like some qualities I would like to see in those people that would be like, yo, those are my dogs. Sorry, youth pastor came out, but those are my dogs. It'd be more like intentionality. You know, is it gonna be? Is it easy to just talk with you? Like, are we checking up on each other? Are we going back to the book of Proverbs and sharpening each other? You know, iron sharpens iron. Yeah. Because what I'm looking for is intentionality, care, empathy, but also boldness from my dogs, bro. Like, you know, like I want to see that because like those are things I could use. Those are things that I want to exemplify because these are things that I'm like this is what makes me like a better man. Yeah. You know, being in a relation, nothing makes you. And this is this funny thing because I've been reading the book Fighting Shadows, and one of the things we're saying is like men are not, you know, fulfilled with money. Men are not fulfilled with things outside of things, you know, except the relationships. We're built for relationships. Yeah. So it's like, man, when I'm looking for something in my friendships, I'm like, do you give qualities that really are really going to make me better? Yeah. And like I said, boldness, confidence, empathy, like these are things that I could use in my life, but I want to give as well. So those are things I would look for to be like, those are my dogs. You know? Yeah.
And I think for me, a lot of it is, are we willing to obey and live out the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, self-control, all those kind of things, because I think it's easy to just have friends that we have common interests with, that we grew up with, that we happen to have same spaces with. And a lot of those are really good and really normal things you shouldn't necessarily say no to. But it's a lot harder to find people who are willing to show you the ways of God in your everyday lives. And I think it's a really big deal to show that you are walking with God day in, day out. And whenever you can call them or text them, they're the first person to say, hey, that's not okay. Or, hey, what you did there was something that we love and we want to further cultivate and push into. So, yeah. So what does that look like with you, Sarah? With you, Pastor Sarah? What does that look like for you?
I'm just going to start off by saying, guys, that I think for some people it's easy to make community, right? But for some people it's a little harder to make community.
That's true.
And so I just want to start off by saying that, like, for me, it hasn't always been easy. I think since I definitely started more of my faith journey within like high school and like more of like my sophomore year, it had always been hard to kind of like separate myself with people that were going to be living for the world instead of living for the Lord, right? And it was hard. It was a little bit harder for me to, I mean, because, you know, I'm in public school. It was a little harder for me to be able to find a community that was going to also edify me in the correct ways, right? Yeah. And thankfully, like, the Lord blessed me with some amazing mentors during high school. And so they were kind of able to help me navigate more towards like, okay, like, I know there's so many people surrounding you. I know that you're always being surrounded by people that aren't maybe going to give you the best advice, aren't maybe going to give you the most godly advice, they're probably going to give you the worldly advice, right? And you know that's pretty hard, because it's like you call those people your friends, you call those people your acquaintances, and at the same time you're also trying to figure out your life. So it's like you're just like, who do I listen to? And it can be hard. And so I think ever since starting my my deeper relationship with the Lord when I was in high school, and also having my mentors, they helped me a lot to navigate, you know, people that were going to say the right things, or not the right things, right? I mean, because obviously, you know, but people that were going to speak life into me, basically. Having people surround me, and, you know, depending on the people, depending on wherever I was, you know, them being able to help me navigate, okay, hey, like, I know you're consistently being surrounded by these people, but kind of like helping me learn how to put a lens on, okay, like, but what is actually going to be the thing that sets you apart, right? Because you're the one who's following the Lord, you're the one who's the Christ follower, right? And how are you going to be edifying your friends to possibly lead them to a relationship with the Lord, relationship with Christ, right? And so I want to say that, like, in high school, when I was like in high school, like I didn't have like all these friends. Most of my friends were really more within the church. I would hang out with them outside of the church, outside of school. Most of them didn't even go to the same school as me. But I would genuinely just try to find friends that were just going to live life with me, but at the same time not be living for the world, right? And, you know, where I could have genuine conversation with them, telling me, hey, like, I'm learning this is what the Lord is teaching me, this is what I'm going through, being able to be vulnerable with them, but at the same time, like, you know, us collectively leading each other back to the Word, or back to Jesus, or back to the truth, right? Because, you know, I feel like as a friend, who would I want to be as a friend to somebody else if I want them to also be that same thing, right? Because genuinely, I feel like I've had a lot of friendships where it was super like one-sided. Like, I could be giving my everything, I could be wanting to help them in the best ways possible, like just continuously, like just pouring out, and it would just get super draining, because it's like, okay, but like they never ask me if I'm okay, they never ask me like about my circumstances, they never come to me and say like, hey, I want to pray for you, hey, let me do this for you, or hey, like, what's going on? Like, genuinely, like, I feel like you haven't talked, you know? And you know, so just genuinely having those people that I could be vulnerable with, people that are going to speak life into you, people that whenever you feel like doing the wrong thing, worldly thing, because I feel like we can so easily fall back into those things, especially when we're like in our teenage years, like, of course, like it could be so easy to do that, especially when we're surrounded by so many people that are you know, in that environment. It could be so easy to fall into that, but just having those people that are also set and will be like, hey, like, you know what though, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, God is good, he's turning, he'll turn all your pain for good, and it'll all be for his goodness, and you know, just leading you back to scripture, or hey, like, I don't know what you're going through, but since you're telling me, and since you're able to be vulnerable with me, like, how can we figure it out together?
That's good.
You know?
Yeah. And all this ties in because whenever we're in the context of like dating, engagement, marriage, you are not going to be alone, because the worst thing that we can do is live in isolation. If we are making decisions without accountability, without people who can say, this is someone who can build the kingdom of God with you in your life, and you're going to make kingdom building families, then that's not the way for you. And so we're only able to get that whenever we have other people in our lives. So I know I have about 5 or so men who I can go to at any point and say, hey, here's what I'm going to. About 3 of those I meet with on a weekly basis, and I tell them everything going on in my life, things I'm struggling with, things I'm growing in, and it is one of the most edifying things for me. I'll tell them, like, if I've gone on a date or if I'm just doing anything in life. And they are able to show me, hey, this is something you may want to stop. This is something you may want to press into because you've been given this God-given gift.
Yeah.
And that's something we want to keep growing in.
Yeah.
And so don't do life alone. We want you to be connected to community, and that starts at the local church, and we'd love to see you in that context. Whether you're watching from our church, you're watching from a different context in the world, get plugged in. There's nothing more beautiful and life-giving than the local church. And so if you're in the Garland area, Texas area, or just in Dallas in general, we'd love to see you here at Disciple First Church. But this is Pastor Sarah, this is Pastor Paul. And we'll see you next week here in the Driven by Faith podcast.